one and all, to the Revolutionary Wrestling Podcast for our review of Double or Nothing. It's been sending some shockwaves through the wrestling world. I am the devilishly handsome outlaw himself, your king of extreme, Phil KOE, joined by my indomitable broadcast partner, the one, the only, the three-time Revolutionary Wrestling Podcast champion,
Tony G. Welcome.
Like, share, subscribe.
Like he said, welcome to our review and discussion of AEW's first and ever pay-per-view, Double or Nothing. And in true Double or Nothing gambling form, you can clearly see, here we are.
Getting ready for a little bit of a game of poker. High card deal, sir. Oh, queen, deuce.
Queen
it's on
it is.
you. So, Double or Nothing. The internet wrestling community is on fire over it. It's all anybody can talk about. Apparently, it's all anything WWE can talk about on their own program.
Well, I think one time hardly counts compared to the numerous times Cody has referenced them.
You know, to be fair, he does owe them a few.
You think?
So, hold them. So,
let's start things off, of course, with the pre-show, dubbed the buy-in, as we just did. The 22,
with
because
a
it was
wild card.
Yeah, the 21 with the wild card being Adam Page. Hangman Page wins. Right guy won. Enough said, simple as that. The thing about the Battle Royal that I didn't like, I will raise actually, was the fact that it was on the pre-show. I feel like that should have opened the event.
that's right.
I thought that should have opened the event. That should have been the first match on the main card. And then...
Yeah, they really promoted the Battle Royal way too much for it to be on the pre-show, but I get it. They were still trying to sell those pay-per-views.
I agree, and I get why they placed it where they did. I still thought it should have been on the main card. It could have been the opener. And then the AEW World Title presentation could have been the lead into the main event, because that also had AEW World Title implications. That's just how I would have done it. What do I know?
The event did well enough for itself. Most folks didn't really tune in until really didn't tune in until the main card. The Battle Royal was all right. Tommy Dreamer did his thing. Everybody got their moment in. But in reality, it should have been on the main card, because that was, in the end, where more eyeballs were.
Agreed.
Now, what's your take on the Kip Sabian-Sammy Guevara match?
I watched this hours before we actually got to view the pay-per-view, because we viewed it late. We had to wait a little while, but that was what I got to see first, and I was impressed. I didn't know either guy coming in. Knew that they were young, up-and-comers with a lot of flashy big moves. They did not disappoint on that level. However, they were in a little bit of a hurry. There was a couple of spots where the guys just weren't quite in sync. The finish was fun. They were on point towards the end. Really good match to close the buy-in with. And then, of course, you had the Fab Four come out, hype the pay-per-view as the buy-in went off the air leading into the actual show. So the pre-show did what it needed to do, and everybody was excited and hyped, and they probably got a few extra buys out of the pre-show because of it.
And getting to the main show and the main hand, sir.
Well, the main show, I was excited. I was excited because...
The main show, SoCal Uncensored versus Strong Hearts. It was a good match. It was a serviceable mid-card match. Yeah, that one's dead. It was a serviceable mid-card match. Ha! Get this beautiful, gorgeous mug in the shot there for a minute.
Get it.
So,
serviceable.
It was a typical indie match. Which you're going to hear me say that a lot through this review.
That's fair, but for me personally,
race.
I was a big Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian fan from TNA. Couldn't have loved the fact more that they were on the show and opened it.
You and all three of them.
Hey, whatever you got to tell yourself. Great outing by these guys, even though they're in the twilight of their career. Loved it. I thought it was a really good match to put as the
It was
opener.
a great opener match. And at what point are you going to admit to yourself that you're not so much a TNA fan so much as you were just a fan of whatever AJ Styles happens to be doing?
That's not true. I became an AJ Styles fan after finding TNA.
We will argue this point later. 10-9 ace.
Okay. Moving down the card, though, we had the women's triple threat of Dr. Britt Baker, DDS, Kylie Ray, and Nyla Rose. And then the surprise entrance, which everybody viewing was excited, Awesome Kong, another TNA name.
I'll be honest, yes, I'll give you that for TNA. Awesome Kong coming down to the ring was a huge pop for me because I love a comeback story. That's one of the things in wrestling I just love. It's like a redemption arc. Who doesn't love a comeback story? So,
Agreed.
I don't know. SoCal Uncensored, I'm going to give it a solid 3-star match for 6-man tag.
I'll even be... I'll be a little more...
The Awesome Kong match, I'm giving it 3.
I'll give SoCal Uncensored's win 2.75. I probably would have gone 2.5, but just because it's Daniels Kazarian right here. The women's four-way, I'll be honest, as much as I like to see Awesome Kong back in the ring, doing what she does best, the surprise was fun.
It got a pretty big pop from me personally.
She didn't do a lot in the match, and she spent
to.
a lot of time outside of the ring. Right, the pop was what was necessary. I get it. I think it probably would have had better pacing had it been a triple threat, though, honestly. So, for that, I'm going to take points off. I'm going to give it 2.25.
I'm sticking with 3. Now again, like I said, the Awesome Kong entrance was one of my biggest pops of the night, so I'm just glad she's
5.
back. Ooh, all right. I will call that. Last card, Queen. So, moving on to a interesting match, the Best Friends versus Angelico and Jack Evans.
I got...
Champ, I'm going to give you the first on this.
This was the first tag match on the AEW history of their pay-per-views, right? And I'm not familiar with any of the guys, I'll be honest, so obviously that hurts my rating of it. They did a lot of fun stuff, but for me, it didn't have a big moment. I felt like it needed one because if these are two tag teams that are going to possibly challenge, say, the Young Bucks down the line, I don't think they really got home with that point. The Best Friends got the win in the end, and that's great.
For what it meant.
For what it meant.
And then, as much as I hate to say it, I love certain aspects of the show. But this is going to be one of my bigger criticisms.
Exactly.
This was one of the worst character introductions I've seen in a long time. The crowd was literally chanting, "Who are you?" when I found out later, because I had no idea. I was with everybody else. The Super Smash Bros.
Yeah.
2 pair. Jack's Queens.
My pocket sixes did nothing for me.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I
that's
gotta
apparently
agree.
what Cody did. He gambled on himself and brought the chips in.
I got to agree. It was a very unnecessary debut for a team that they obviously had high hopes for in debuting. And like you said, with the crowd kind of crapping all over it in the middle of a show that the crowd was stoked for.
That was terrible.
That says a lot. Even the announcers made light of the fact that I don't. You watch more than I do. I don't know who these guys are.
Yeah, the announcers had no idea.
Not good.
They didn't even have a memo for tell us who they were.
No, that was a bad look.
Now,
I didn't
before we
like
get any further down the card, I do think we need to also address the title unveiling.
We'll get to that, but I'm going to give that 2.5.
2.5. I'm going to be a little more generous with it. It was, again, another serviceable indie match, which is about a good 3-star match. But I do need to say that one of the biggest problems with AEW...
5 draw.
Ooh. 5-card draw. What's wild?
No wilds.
No wilds. Cowboy poker. 1 to you, sir.
Yeah, the thing if you want to talk about the unveiling of the title...
and did you hear Bret Hart walked off?
I did. I was going to mention the fact that Bret can't catch a break.
Yep.
Getting tackled at the Hall of Fame and then this. At least people were very, very concerned about his well-being Twitter went nuts with it. Apparently, that side of the arena was very concerned. Said it was hard to focus on the show after that until they knew he was okay. So, best wishes, Bret Hart. It was really fun seeing
MJF, right? Was that his...
MJF, who did very well in the Battle Royal.
His promo work during that segment was better. He almost stole the show with his promo work there.
You know, I enjoyed his promo work. I think that he's definitely got a bright future. I like the fact that they're pushing a more edgy idea. I like that, and I think he's very committed to the heel character that he plays. Looking at some of the stuff I've been seeing online this week, he's very committed to playing that character. So kudos to him. Love to see more from him. Hangman Page, obviously going to be a fan favorite. I liked the segment. I think it ran a little bit long. And again, I think it should have been
And they should have probably told Bret which direction the hard camera was.
Agreed. What do you take, sir?
Just one.
One. I will actually do the same.
So the title looks great, I will say.
I like the fact it's not a cookie cutter design.
It kind of, honestly, to me, feels like a hybrid of the old Bruno Sammartino world title with just a dash of AWA big gold title.
It's really pretty.
I do like it.
It's flashy. It's blingy.
Call, sir?
I threw away a 9. I got a 9. Fold. My one gripe with it was the fact that I counted about 15 times the AEW logo is on it. I get it. It's a cool logo. You want to brand it. But on both of the side plates.
That's your complaint?
That's my one complaint.
The competition is about this far for putting the KFC logo on the side plates, and you're a little worried about self-branding.
You've got 2 side plates, both with AEW, plus the main plate, and then like 4 more down the strap. I thought it was a little overboard. That's just me. But moving along, this one, I'll be honest, I think this really slowed down the card. The 6-woman tag.
Yes, it did go way too long. I will give you that. It went way too long, but...
Oh, and the entrances were 10 minutes long itself.
Back in the very early 2000s, Tony and I used to watch old VHS tapes of Japanese pro wrestling, which is a very old-fashioned sentence.
Indeed.
That's like saying you went down to Blockbuster, but...
We just dated ourselves something fierce. But, yes, of course, we're talking about...
Pro wrestling. This was...
Kuroshita, Ryo Mizuman, I hope I'm saying that right, versus the legend Aja Kong, Yuka Sakazaki, and Emi Sakura.
Aja Kong, it was obvious since we had watched her last, the years had not been exactly kind.
No, she struggled getting in and out of the ring, and she was very limited in what she could do, but it was cool for a legend.
It was great to see her. I didn't care. I didn't care. It was awesome.
And she even put the young team over.
Yes, which, you know.
So, yeah. Cheers, that's how it's supposed to go. Old Gunslinger knows how the game works.
Do you call Gunslinger?
I do. So, I can't do any better than 2 stars on that, I'm afraid. I'm sorry. I'm talking sheer wrestling quality, not nostalgia effect here. Sheer wrestling quality. The entrances were too long. The match ran a little long, and like I said, she was limited. So it hurt the quality overall. And it's packaged right in the middle.
One of the performers just seemed like a Bailey light. I hate to say that.
No, you're thinking of the 4-way, Kylie Ray.
Oh, sorry. We
did want to mention that.
The Freddie Mercury entrance was kind of weird.
Now, I did talk to some fans online who said, well, that Kylie Ray and the shade that Cody threw at Bailey, that was all in reference, and he's a fan of Bailey and all that. I get it. But I thought it was a little tasteless on his part. I thought it was unnecessary. Whether his intentions were good or not, even if he is a fan, when you have Kylie Ray on your roster. So, that match, I thought that could have been on the pre-show. That's my take. But moving along, 2 stars, that's what I would give it.
I hate to agree, but I'm going to agree.
$10.
Ooh, 10. I'll call and raise you 10.
Okay, back off now. So, moving on down the line, we had the match of the night, let's be honest.
Without a shadow of a doubt, Cody Rhodes versus Dustin Rhodes brother versus brother, era versus era, passing of the torch, changing of the guard. 5. Call your 5 and raise your 5 more.
Right back at you.
So you raise me another 10.
Okay.
All
Deuce
right.
on the river.
Yes.
Riverboat Phil could strike again.
Who, me? Oh,
Yes, you.
no.
So let's talk. Well, let's finish our hand.
Let's finish this hand
I'm gonna
before
check. And now I fold.
50.
That didn't go well.
Yep. Audience, I'll just show you.
Did not go well.
Riverboat Phil
your
strikes again.
There it is. So Cody versus Dustin. Let's talk about it. I know I've got a lot to say. I know
Let
he's
me
got a lot to
start
say.
off, because this is going to start off a shouting match between us. So let's just get right into it, folks. Cody versus Dustin. 5-star match, and most likely the wrestling match of the year. As of right now, there has been no match that we have seen better this year.
Okay.
There's been no professional wrestling match. And before you bring up AJ Styles versus Seth Rollins, yes, that was a fine match of sports entertainment. It was great. But this was a wrestling match, and it was the best we've seen all year. And it's thus far my contender for match of the year.
Okay.
So,
My thoughts, one to you. Storytelling-wise, that is absolutely a 5-star match. Match quality-wise, 3.5. So, I'm going to give it a solid 4.
all right, we're going to have to disagree
Okay.
on this one, because this match told an amazing story.
It did.
It checked all the wrestling boxes, and
It absolutely told a great story.
Oh, raise it 10.
We knew that it would tell a good story going in. And the promos for this match were
Easiest
better than
$2
any
ever
other
made.
promos that we saw on the rest of the card. Go figure that the VP would get such an amazing package piping his match. But it's brother versus
It's almost
brother.
like that happens in wrestling
It's
companies.
weird how that works. But I digress.
But baby, I was on top. You think he learned that from dear old dad?
Well, let's just get this out of the way right now. If you grew up loving NWA, Georgia Championship Wrestling level, WCW, like this guy, of course this was a 5-star match for you. This was a harken back to a different era, and it told that story very, 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 very well. Better than we've seen in a long time. And of course, the gruesome blade job that Dustin did at 50 years old, it's remarkable. It was the best match he's had in a long, long, long time. Easily the most high profile. Sweet. But, 2 gripes. I get why Brandy Rhodes was involved as much as she was. She's obviously...
I could have done without that.
She was his valet. She's his woman. I get it. But it took a little bit away. Dustin spent a lot of time on the outside because of that segment. And then DDP coming down. Love to see DDP. Felt it kind of drew me out a little bit, personally. Then, of course...
For a WCW mark like me, I was sitting there going like...
Raise 10.
Oh, you can't see it. There we go. I was doing the diamond cutter. Ooh, raising 10 on me. I'm tall.
Yep, love seeing DDP. I thought that really kind of mucked down the match. Now, I liked how they explained that countouts are up to the ref. The ref's not going to throw him out. So I get that kind of lets the rules
like
bend
that.
a little bit.
I'll
I don't
be
like
honest,
it. I'm glad they explained it.
At least we know what the rules are as the audience, but wrestling is a very interesting form of storytelling that you have to adhere to a few simple rules in order to really tell a compelling story. And yeah, I bet you do. But Tony, a couple of days ago, when I told him I was going to rate this very
10.
well, I'm going to fold.
Fair enough.
Want to see the last 2?
Show me.
Oh, wow. Flush on the board.
Well, I had a good 2 pair.
You had
that
me.
I couldn't do anything with.
You had me. Yep, Omaha. Well played, sir.
So, yeah.
So really, what can be be said about this match that hasn't already been said. The two put everything on the line, and Tony was telling me the other day when he knew I was going to give this a very positive review, and unfortunately he said, Phil, blood doesn't make it better. And I'm
doesn't.
Like, stop it. You don't even believe that as you say it.
I do believe
Stop.
that. I do believe
Stop
that.
it. Without Stone Cold's Crimson Mask at WrestleMania 13, we wouldn't have the Austin era, period. Blood is very much a commodity in wrestling, and when used right, it compels and makes the storytelling 10 times better.
I'm not disagreeing.
But you're about to disagree.
I'm not disagreeing, but I'm going to disagree a little bit. I thought that match absolutely needed color. Did it need buckets? No, it didn't need buckets. But yes, of course, it helped tell that story that they were going to tell. And I'm going to go ahead and touch real quick. Obviously, it helps set up the tag team match that they will be having with the Bucks. Thought the moment after the match, glorious.
Yes.
Homage to Dusty. Beautiful.
Yeah. And also, I got an older brother and a younger brother, so I identified with both ends of that promo. So it was like, got me right in my feels.
However, let's talk about that entrance, shall we? Cole? That entrance.
No.
Yeah, so Cody.
Easiest buck you ever made.
I gotta ask. What is it like?
There's a little symbolism there.
What is it like having Paul Levesque live in your head rent-free? What's it like? Is he a good tenant? Does he pay on time? What? Oh, that's right. It's rent-free.
Yep.
As much he should have been hyping AEW, and as much as he did hype it, he could not hype the event without throwing shade or talking about WWE or Vince or Triple H, and of course his entrance was no exception. He did try to play it, well, I'm not really ready to be a VP and all that without stepping away from the ring. No, we know what it meant. It was incredibly directed, strictly at Triple H. You're not fooling anybody, Cody.
What?
Come on. Can we agree?
It was so subtle. I didn't catch on to the symbolism there.
Can we just agree that, fine, you got it out of your system, Cody?
We're going to do cowboy poker. 5-card stud, face down, no wilds.
Perfect.
Yo, one.
Can we just agree that he got it out of his system? Let that be the end of it. Move on. Promote your brand. Focus on that. Stop it. So,
us old WCW, ECW marks that have more money than sense love it. Cody, it's awesome. I'll be honest. I would have preferred if he'd used the hammer to actually physically just destroy the throne without any of the theatrics.
Yeah, because it felt like Halloween Havoc Chamber of Horrors when he barely tapped it and it exploded.
Yeah, I was going to be on that. Did feel Halloween Havoc-y to me. So, one to you, sir?
Yeah, okay, like you said, 4 stars for me, 5 stars for him. He thinks it's the best match of the year. I still think AJ Seth a little bit better.
That is the best sports entertainment match that they've had this year, yes. But wrestling, all I got to say is hi.
Fair 5s.
It's yours.
Thank you.
That is 5-card stud cowboy style.
Again, best match of the card. Loved it.
It was.
It was. I critique it unfairly, but it was still match of the night.
I think you're just thinking I'm being a little too generous.
You are. Anywho, moving down the line to a much more faster pace.
Very good match.
Oh, man.
It was?
I got a lot of good stuff to say about this, but
get it out of the way. Just get it out.
We touched on this on the last match, and I think that rules should be
raised about
across the board.
$2.
And by that, I absolutely am referring to the fact that there was no fluidity with the tags and who's legal in the ring and, flippy stuff, awesome. The chemistry both teams had, awesome. And I'm, of course, talking about the Young Bucks versus the Lucha Brothers for the AAA World Tag Team Championships. Champions being the Young Bucks. Everybody, one of the big indie marks that was with us was like, oh, there's no way the Lucha Brothers lose this. Okay.
Yeah, I'm actually shocked it wasn't a clean sweep by the corporation, to be honest. But
a little.
The Young Bucks and the Lucha Brothers, They put on an inspiring match.
They
it
did.
was great. They, like you said, they could have been better on the tags and enforcing them.
I think that hurt it. I felt like that hurt it. But they did not flub any spots.
It did prevent it from becoming a perfect 5-star tag match. You are correct.
Thank you.
Chet.
Okay, that's as much reasoning as I can give to why I don't rate it higher than... I got to give it a 4.
Okay,
I know that they are capable of being better at the fluidity of the tags. They just refuse to. That's my take.
The rest of this show, as much as I hate to say, was an atypical indie show.
3.
Just pretty much in your standard run-of-the-mill indie show.
This match
was potential to be tag team wrestling match of the year. Potentially, I'm giving it 4.5 stars. Much more, but basically, like I said, the rest of this show is kind of an atypical indie show with some very bright, shining spots at the top of the card. So I was done.
50.
So you are raising me
50.
Oh.
Cheers, folks.
Bold. Show the audience what you have. You didn't have to show me.
So, again, this is absolutely the perfect setting for them to flourish. They did just that. They successfully defended the titles that they won from the Lucha Brothers. I thought it was perfect. I thought the ending was correct. And
yes,
there you go. That's my one gripe. There it is. That's why I had to rate it a little bit lower, because the ending
was correct.
No, the ending was fine.
You've been watching New York.
No. The finisher where he had his arm hurt and he had to hold him with one arm for as long as he did. I felt like maybe the timing was off. I don't know. That was my one gripe with the timing issues. That's it, other than the tags. So great match. Can't wait to see maybe a rematch. Can't wait to see the Rhodes Brothers versus the Young Bucks. I'm excited for that. So, with all that being said...
Card draw. No wilds.
Okay. With all that being said, we move on to the main...
Before we do, let me just say one more thing about... Now, the Young Bucks style and a lot of the style that we've seen throughout most of this show, it's very entertaining. There's a lot of flips and ooh and ah. But the thing you got to remember is the indie scene today, as a WCW fan that I am, looks shockingly like the cruiserweight division of WCW in the very late 90s. The styles are pretty well the same. The thing you got to remember is the cruiserweights in WCW were the bathroom break. So if you're going to base your entire federation around the cruiser, like, you got to get some big old hoss. As much as I hate to say, as much as I hate to call back to Jim Ross, there is going to have to be a little bit of evening of the roster, as much as I hate to say, and they got to that in the main event, which we're about to move on to.
Yes, the main event, Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega, in the rematch from New Japan. This was a big one. This was the big stage. Oh. This is what people were...
What you need?
I need 4. This had a very big entrance, obviously, for Jericho. This had world title.
Dealer takes 5.
Intricate meanings moving down the line. I thought the match was very good. And I gotta say, I love the fact that Chris Jericho's style has to make Kenny Omega slow down just a little bit and really focus on in-ring psychology. And I was glad to see him succeed at that as well as he did. Because as good as Chris Jericho... I didn't even get cards.
Yeah, you did.
Well, I didn't even look at him.
I didn't catch what I was after. Just take
Works for me.
my $4 and move on with life.
I was glad to see Kenny be able to flourish in that setting. And as many times as Jericho, honestly, missed his cue, missed a spot, Omega was there to pick up the pieces.
And yeah, Omega was there to pick up the pieces with a broken nose, by the way. I don't agree with the finish. I don't think Jericho should have won. He should have put Omega
We did not expect
again.
Jericho to win that match. We didn't. We did not expect that, so that's why I kind of now in hindsight like the fact that he did.
Yes, and as much as I hate to say it, putting the belt on Jericho would be a very good move.
We expected Omega, Hangman, for the first title. And obviously Omega to win it, right? Well, that's not what we're going to get. Apparently we're going to get Omega chasing a little bit. That's compelling TV. They're booking long-term. Kudos for them for taking a chance there. The one thing about Jericho, though, I think you're going to get about 1, maybe 2 years out of him. I think his run here in AEW is to help establish the brand, be a name, push the guys, and then as soon as they're over where they need to be, he will step aside. I had that debate online earlier, and I know I'm right. Somebody tried to tell me he'd get 5-6 years out of him. You're not going to get 5-6 years out of him.
He's signed a 3-year contract, last I heard. So
yeah, that last year is probably going to be small appearances, big matches. That's my thought on it.
In
my
honor
one
of the main
gripe,
event, I call Ray's 10.
I'm not even going to look, and I will call. Ooh. Jericho, a vet like
That's
you,
right.
I'm really shocked that 2-3 times you missed your spot, something went wrong, and you went back to it. A couple of times.
Yeah.
He missed a spot, and he went back to it. That's not a vet move, in my opinion. However, kudos for sticking to your guns, and you could visibly see when he hit that elbow, that was the finish, an elbow, you could see on his face. He was kind of disappointed with his performance.
Well, here's my problem with the elbow finish.
Another 10.
Oh, you raised me another 10. Burn turn, sir. You could actually see fans in the front row looking down on their phones as the finish was happening. Because nobody expected just a back elbow. Now, I get it. 40.
Call. Yeah, I agree. They didn't see it coming, and when it happened, I think people were a little surprised, a little disappointed. But quickly,
Let's see what you got.
like Jericho in true form, grabbed the mic, cut an awesome promo, established himself as the top heel, heading into his title bout with Hangman Page. And then, of course, 20.
Raise.
Ouch. Ouch. I didn't have it. Did not
Should
have
I,
it.
folks?
Doesn't
Neither did
matter.
I.
Well played, sir. Of course, the big surprise, quote unquote, John Moxley.
I had to bluff there in honor of John Moxley's masterful bluff of the WWE executive. To the point, like, I'm shocked they didn't find a way to extend his contract. Well, one time you stubbed your toe. So,
yeah,
like, so
there's the rumors going around now that he lied to WWE and he told them he'd only work indie shows. I'm not buying it.
Are you... Wait. Are you implying that one of the boys would lie to a promoter, sir? I don't know what to say.
That's what people are saying. I don't know if it's true. I don't care. It doesn't matter. He's gone. He's in AEW now. That's all that matters. And he came out, and it was cool to see him harken back to his big feud with Jericho from WWE, drops Jericho, and then absolutely battles to the entrance ramp and everywhere with Kenny Omega, obviously setting up a feud that I didn't even know I wanted to see in Kenny Omega versus John Moxley.
And it's going to be a good match, as, you know, John finally gets to work with some new talent, something he's really been wanting to get into. So I'm looking forward to this. I mean, we're going to be watching the next AEW pay-per-view, and we're going to be watching their television debut. They made fans. They figured it out. And they got lightning in a bottle, and they ignored that at their own peril.
They did. And the thing you got to understand about AEW, everybody who is head over heels for the promotion right now. Like, I'm excited, too. I thought it was a really good show.
Raise 20.
There are some people who are absolutely losing their minds over this, calling it the greatest show of all time. Let's not get carried away. It's the first show. The TV show hasn't even started. Let's see what they can do moving forward. Let's see how they promote the company moving forward before we lose our minds over it. We're not putting WWE out of business. We're not going to war with them because we're not even on the same night as WWE. Let's walk before we run. That's my advice to AEW hardcores now, because people who have established themselves as anti-WWE fans were yearning for something like this, and they got it. And let me be honest, they got exactly what they wanted and probably some more. But walk before you run. This is going to be good. Give it time. They've got the backer. They've got the TV. They've got a good start to the roster. Let's see where we go from the show moving forward before we go head over heels. That's my take. Just my opinion.
And checker back to you, sir.
20.
A call. King, sir.
Okay. Your thoughts overall on the show?
Overall, very top-heavy card. The undercard really, it's like my earlier observation. It resembles the WCW Cruiserweight division, which is entertaining, but it's entertaining to a slim segment. Like, we need to get over the flippy nonsense, the flippy shit, as they call it. And I think we need to move closer to the wrestling that was shown in the upper part of the card. Cody and Dustin probably took less bumps than, say, the Young Bucks or the Best Friends or SoCal Uncensored.
That's expected.
But their match was better, objectively. And any way you want to look at it, their match was better.
That's true storytelling.
So,
and that's something you can compare the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, compare them to Cody.
Just gonna do it
Where did Cody learn that?
Probably from his old man.
Where did Cody cut his teeth telling a story in the ring, whether it was a good story or not?
Oh my God, you New York Mark.
I'm just saying, don't crap on the brand completely.
You call, sir?
It made the guy. I will raise.
Ooh. Big money, folks.
So, yeah, we are very, very excited to see where AEW goes in their show, I believe, in Chicago, correct?
Yes, and as much as I hate to say, if we hear about a certain somebody going to that show, we'll probably be driving there.
Yeah, you know, if we can somehow end up...
I just got an 8.
That's enough.
Muck 'em.
Muck 'em. So, yeah.
Woo!
If he who shall not be named, Punk, ends up being all in, as they say, yeah, they've really got a strong roster. They've got a big-time name for themselves on their next big show. And I know we're excited to see the next big show. I know we're excited to see everything moving forward. I'm excited to see they get on the roster next. I'm excited for the next
anybody
pay-per-view,
whose contract expires. Now, there will be a point where they quit signing folk.
Well, you can't convolute the roster
Moxley was
too
big.
much.
They broke up the Shield because of AEW. One of the central storylines of WWE has now been disrupted because of AEW. You can't ignore it.
Well, let's be frank. The Shield reunion was a complete flop because it took 1.5 to 2 years. And they never even got the tag titles and Universal title on them for that red belt that they wanted. They never even got it because of injuries, because of the commitment to the Brock Lesnar-Roman Reigns storyline. It never happened. It never clicked. It was a very watered-down Shield, let's be honest. Dean Ambrose heel run, total flop. I felt
he even admitted it himself on Talk is Jericho.
It was.
And yes. AEW's got so much interest. I watched the Talk is Jericho podcast with Jon Moxley. Okay? I'll be honest with you. A few months ago, probably wouldn't have listened to an hour-and-a-half podcast with Dean Ambrose.
Well, no, especially not after that Stone Cold podcast.
Ooh. 30.
Yeah, I feel personally like Ambrose Moxley, he really did kind of flub that heel run, if I'm being completely honest. I think he was already unhappy, but I felt like he could have put more into it. It would have been better. That's just me. He had already decided he was out the door, so it is what it is. He's in a better place now. Let's see what he can do with it. He can get back to that TV 14 hardcore style he's going to be much, much more suited for. So that's going to be fun moving forward. And yeah, I mean, him Omega, I didn't even know I wanted it.
Big hand here.
And here it is.
Here's the last card.
Ace on the end.
Ace of Diamonds.
Fantastic.
And in memory of this being the last hand.
Giving me a lot to think about here, Phil. Not just with the cards and the chips, but also with your comments on the card. So, in closing, I am Tony G, your 3-time champion.
Okay.
Can't be excited any more than this. And in true AEW fashion, I am all in on this hand.
Call. What you got?
You first.
King Eye Flush.
You win this one, Phil.
And with that...
You don't win the title.
Well, I think I'll take this W tonight, Tony G. So, all that being said, the sweet, sweet flavor of victory, folks. This was our review of AEW's inaugural show, Double or Nothing. And it worked out for me this time. So,
this time,
the true AEW fans here, as opposed to this New York mark, won out when it mattered. So,
it doesn't have to be one or the other.
Oh, but it's so much more fun that way.
All right.
So, folks, let us know what you thought of this show. Let us know in the comments section.
Like, share, subscribe.
All you got to do to keep up with this beautiful mug and all the happenings of the Revolutionary Wrestling Podcast. Our champion, the king of the KOE Nation, right here. What more could you ask for?
Not much.
So, we got some more events coming up this month.
What is this to say?
Join us, folks.
We'll see you for Super Showdown.